Hi friends, Miss Kristi here, and I am so excited to be together again cooking in the kitchen. Today we are learning how to make a breakfast taco. This twist on a classic is filled with fluffy scrambled eggs, melted cheese, and all wrapped in a warm tortilla. We'll use just 3 ingredients and it takes less than 2 minutes to make. We're gonna have fun making this together today, and I'm so glad you're here.
All is calm and all is bright tonight.
Now, the first step to cooking and working in the kitchen is to wash our hands. While I wash my hands with soap and warm water for at least 20 seconds, let's go over the ingredients and supplies that you'll need to gather to cook along today. The ingredients you'll need are 1 tortilla, 1 egg, 1 string cheese, a pinch of salt and pepper, and cooking spray. The supplies you'll need are a skillet or small frying pan, a liquid measuring cup, a whisk, a spatula, and a plate. Okay, great. Your hands are clean and my hands are clean. We've gathered our ingredients and supplies, so let's get started making our breakfast taco. Now I want to let you know there's 2 options. So in the supply list, you could either use a skillet, so like a griddle, or you can use a small frying pan like this. So if you're gonna use your stovetop and a small frying pan, we'll talk about that throughout. I'm actually gonna cook it right on like a griddle or a skillet in front of me. I find it easier to flip the tortilla when we're using it just because it's a bigger space. So if you have that, maybe you're in your dorm room or you don't have an oven nearby, you can use a skillet for this. It works perfectly fine. But let's start making it. So the first thing is we want to do is heat our skillet to 350 degrees, or if you're using your stove top, you're gonna wanna set your frying pan and warm it up to medium. So I'm just gonna plug in my skillet and I'm gonna turn it on to 350 degrees and let that warm up. Now, while the skillet's warming or the pan is warming up, we're going to put together our egg mixture. So what you're gonna do is grab your liquid measuring cup, because that's right where it's going to get mixed into, and your 1 egg. Now, if you make this again and decide that you want it to be a little bit more filling with egg, you can always use more than 1 egg, but you would need a bigger size tortilla. So that's why we're sticking with 1 egg for now, but we just need to crack this carefully and put it into our liquid measuring cup. Now, if you're not comfortable with cracking the egg inside without getting a shell, you could definitely crack it into a small bowl and then pour it in, or just go really slow. So I'm just going to tap it on the side and pull it apart. And if we get a shell, we'll just have to pick it out, no worries. Today, we did not get a shell. It's a lucky day. All right. Now that our egg is in here, really the only thing else that's gonna go in here with it is our pinch of salt and pepper. So I'm gonna grab my salt and pepper, and to do a pinch, all I'm gonna do is pour a little bit in my hand, just like a little mound, and then sprinkle it right in. And the rest you can just brush right off. We don't need a ton, it's not even enough to measure, that's why I'm just gonna do a pinch, but you can put your salt aside. The same thing with the pepper, is I'm just gonna take off the top, do a little mound, you don't need a lot. Grab a pinch and sprinkle it in, and then just brush the rest off. You can put your pepper aside. We are done with the salt and pepper. Now you just need to grab your whisk, and we're going to mix this together. Usually I poke the yolk with my whisk and then just give it a stir. If your whisk does not fit in your liquid measuring cup, no worries. You can use a fork. That usually works better too. You could always use a spoon. Or a whisk. I've got a whisk today. It fits in my measuring cup, so I'm just gonna mix this together. And then we are done with the whisk. You can put that aside or whatever you use to mix your egg together. And now basically we're just gonna start cooking this and putting everything together right on our frying pan or the skillet. So I'm just going to move my skillet a little bit more in front of me so that you can see what we're doing here. All right. And I can feel that it's warm. I'm being very careful not to touch this part. So if you're working with your skillet, make sure you're not gonna touch anything but the sides. This top gets really hot. And now I'm just gonna grab my cooking spray, and we're going to spray our cooking spray, just a nice thin layer that's gonna help our egg from sticking to the frying pan or the skillet. And you can set that aside, we're done with that. And now comes the fun part where we get to start assembling this and making it into our breakfast taco. Now, if you're using a frying pan, this part's a little bit easier because you're just gonna pour this in and it's gonna take the shape of your pan and it's gonna spread out nice and evenly because we want a thin layer of egg. However, since I'm using a skillet, because again, it helps it, I think it's a little bit easier to flip because there's more room to work. We're just gonna pour this very, very slowly on top of our skillet. So I just want it to be about the size of the tortilla that we're gonna use. You can see it's gonna start cooking right away, which is good because this does not take very long to cook. I'm just gonna go slow. I don't wanna go too far. But if you go slow, it'll start to cook as you pour, and then you don't have to worry about egg everywhere. So just as patiently as you can, pour, pour, pour. Trying to get the circle the best I can because my tortilla is a circle, and you're gonna see what we're gonna do in just a second. All right, once your egg is poured onto your skillet or your frying pan, now you're gonna wanna take your tortilla. So I'm actually using an almond tortilla today. You can use a flour tortilla. It's just like a regular taco size because if we're making a breakfast taco, all you're gonna do now is lay this right on top. Whatever tortilla you're gonna use, put it right on top, and we're just gonna cook it for 30 seconds. That's all it needs before we flip it. So I'm gonna start my little timer. It's gonna cook for 30 seconds, and then we'll talk about flipping it. All right, that was fast. So 30 seconds is all it needs on this first side because it started cooking when we started to pour it. We put our tortilla on top, and now we're just gonna carefully flip it. So grab your spatula we had in our supply list, and you're going to, whether it's the handle of your pan or the side of your skillet, we're not touching anything hot. We're just going to carefully scoop it up and just give it a flip. You can see it's cooked. It was easy to flip. The egg is cooked so it's not spilling everywhere. Now we just need to quickly get our cheese on. So you're gonna grab your 1-string cheese, just open it up real quick. And now really all I'm gonna do is pull off some pieces and put it on 1/2 of my egg. You could use shredded cheese if you want. I just used string cheese because it was easy. And I know I just need 1 and that's the perfect amount. But if you just wanted to sprinkle some shredded cheese on here, you could. But all I'm doing is pulling off some pieces and I'm going to lay it on one side because we're about to fold this. So put 1/2 of the cheese on that side, grab your spatula, and you're just going to carefully fold it into a taco shape, just like that. Now we really just need to get this cheese melted. So I'm gonna cook it for 30 seconds on this side and then we'll flip it. So 30 seconds again. All right, this is a quick one today. So that was the other 30 seconds. So we've done 30 seconds, we fold it in half, we cooked it for 30 seconds, and now all I'm gonna do is carefully flip it over, the whole thing, with my spatula. So I wanna get that other side of that tortilla slightly brown and crispy too. So last 30 seconds, this is it. It takes less than 2 minutes. We need to let it cook for one more chunk of 30 seconds. All right, we've got to get this off of the skillet because it's done cooking for that last 30 seconds. So all I'm gonna do is turn off my skillet. If you're using your stovetop, you'll turn off your burner. I'm gonna actually unplug my skillet as well and take my spatula and your plate. So we had a plate in the supply list. Now we're just gonna scoop it off. Okay, because it has cooked on both sides. I'll show you the other side. It's gotten crispy. That cheese is melted in the inside. You can see the cheese all melted. And that's it. So we had 3 main ingredients, a little salt and pepper, and then we had less than 2 minutes of cooking to make our breakfast taco. And now you've got this great breakfast option that has protein from the egg and even the cheese, so it's gonna give you energy and keep you full. There's carbohydrates from that tortilla, so that's also gonna give you some energy. So this is just a great breakfast to try. It's quick and simple. Again, we just had those 3 ingredients, and it tastes really good. This is one of the favorites in my household, so I do hope you try and make it. Or try and make it again. And when you do, let me know how it goes. Leave me a comment. Let me know if you have any questions. You can even send me a picture of how your breakfast taco turned out. I would love to get to see your creation, and maybe we could share it next week. Now, speaking of next week, on next week's episode, which is episode 47, we are learning how to make a peanut butter crunch cake. Sounds complicated, but it's actually really easy. This crunch cake has just 3 ingredients. It's actually no bake and gluten-free, and we just end up making this really tasty quick snack. In order to cook along and make that peanut butter crunch cake next week, these are the ingredients that you'll need to have in your kitchen. 1 rice cake, 2 tablespoons of peanut butter, and 1 tablespoon of chocolate chips. Well, friends, our time together today is almost over. I do hope you've enjoyed learning how to make our breakfast taco. I know I had fun, and I already can't wait to cook together again next time. But before you say goodbye to this episode, make sure to click subscribe if you haven't already. You just have to click the little picture of me in the corner. That way you don't miss next week's episode. It'll be out on Friday, and I'll see you then. Bye, friends.